Do you ever feel like you get stuck in this loop where you can't get clients because you don't have a portfolio, but you can't build your portfolio without the clients? And now you're stuck with imposter syndrome and wondering why anybody would want to work with you if you don't have a proven track record. But if you could just see an example of a successful pattern one time, you could reproduce that success. But how do you get the initial success? I think everybody has that problem. I've launched 4 businesses out of my house that have all generated over $1 million each, but every single one of them had to start with the first client. So I've developed a framework. It's a 5-step framework to kind of bust out of this cycle, and I've shown hundreds of web designers how to do it too. I want to share it with you right now. It's really simple once you see it, but it solves all of these really painful problems. Like the first problem, and one of the biggest ones for me, was I didn't want to go out and talk to people and do lead generation and go to networking groups and all that stuff because I was afraid they'd ask me questions that I didn't know the answer to. And I didn't want to feel like I didn't want people to look at me like I didn't know what I was doing. I felt like I had to know all of the answers before I could do any of the marketing. And that, of course, prevents you from doing any lead generation for yourself. So the first thing that I think is huge is to scope down the stuff you need to know by picking a niche so that you don't have to know everything. You just have to know what works for your niche. Like if you go to a dermatologist and let's say I go to a dermatologist and I show up and I'm like, hey, I got into this lightsaber fight with my kids and I was jumping over the couch in the dark and my pinky toe snagged on the footrest. And do you think I broke my toe? And I showed them my pinky toe. And then if the doctor happens to know what the answer is, like all the better, right? So like if you happen to know stuff outside of your niche, all the better. But you could clearly say, hey, I'm a dermatologist. What do you ask me about your toe for? I don't do toes, I do skin. And so I don't feel like that would diminish the authority of the dermatologist at all because I ask them something outside of the context of their expertise. And so for us as web designers, why not pick a niche so that you only have to have the expertise in a small area rather than having to be exposed to all the different possible questions that could come up? So if you're trying to figure out what your niche is, I put together a quiz. It's like 6 or 7 questions. It's all multiple choice. You just kind of click through, and then I'll point you in the direction of what I think would be a really good niche to focus on based on how you answer the questions. You can find it at lead.blue/niche quiz. It's totally free. Check it out if you're trying to find your niche. But that'll really help you scope down like the amount of stuff that you need to know. And then going on to step 2, which also helps with this problem, is define the solution first. So rather than trying to like meet with a client, having them ask you to do a bunch of stuff and then build a solution that does all of that, that leaves you open to them asking you to do like weird, crazy stuff. Like I remember one time I'm sitting down, a lot of my clients were in health and wellness. And someone said, hey, we've got this HL7 data feed that we want to kind of load into a web app so that we can kind of bring together the medical records from different providers all over the place. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, that sounds hard, but I feel 100% confident I could do it. I just need the spec for the data feed, but I've never done it before. But and doesn't that make you feel a little anxiety? Like you're saying yes to something that you think you can do, but you've never done it before. And so that kind of that's basically what imposter syndrome is, right? So why not eliminate that problem by defining your solution first? And so you go back to step 1 where you say, okay, I know what my niche is. Here's what my solution needs to be for that niche. And you're going to find that there's going to be 4 different layers that go into the solution. Or I guess I should say up to 4. And not all niches need all 4 things, which is why you should take the niche quiz. But the first one everybody needs is traffic. Because without the traffic's like the fuel in the tank. Like if you don't have traffic, nothing else matters because nobody sees anything. You got to get people on the website. So you have to have some stuff to drive some traffic in. And so it could be SEO, it could be ads, it could be social media. There's all kinds of ways you can drive traffic. But think through, like based on your niche, what are you going to do to get their audience looking at their stuff? And then have a couple of different traffic engines that you can turn on. The next layer is going to be the leads layer. So you go from traffic to leads. And what I mean by leads, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone calling you. I just want to have some way to communicate back to the people after they visit the website. Because there's going to be a lot of people that, especially in health and wellness and stuff, there's going to be a lot of people that look at your stuff and they're thinking, that seems interesting. I want to learn a little bit more about that before I call in. I'm interested, but I'm not ready to call yet. And so that's where I want people to usually subscribe to an email list or maybe subscribe to a YouTube channel, which would be cool if you wanted to do that right now. Or, I don't know, watch a webinar. Or maybe like a lot of these doctors would have open house events, especially like chiropractors would have like open house events, or they would go somewhere and like meet people in person. So that would be a way to kind of connect with leads where you could continue that conversation. So you got traffic, you got leads. And then the third layer is going to be the clients layer. Like, how do you nurture the leads into clients? Like, once you have someone's email address, or once you have some way to keep the conversation going, what are you going to say? Like, how do you do that nurturing process and then drive people to a secondary call to action, which would be like the more intimate step of calling me or coming in or whatever. And so now you got that clients layer. And then the fourth category, and not all businesses need to put a strong emphasis on this, but it's like client retention, repeat business, customer loyalty. Some businesses don't really need that as much. Like a moving company. It's like, how often do you move? Every 10 years, every 7 years, something like that. So it's not like I'm moving every month. So I'm, as an individual customer, not really going to provide a lot of added benefit in terms of customer loyalty or repeat business for like a moving company. Or like, I don't know, cracked windshield repair. It's like, I'm not planning to crack my windshield every month. I mean, I hope not, right? And so those types of businesses don't really rely on customer loyalty as much as, say, a massage therapist or a chiropractor or dog grooming or a salon or just something where you're probably going to go on a regular basis. So again, that's why it's an important idea to take that niche quiz so you can figure out what kinds of outcomes are pertinent to your selected niche, which is, I'll give you all of that in the results. So you answer a bunch of questions and you kind of find out what your niche needs. But now you've got a solution, right? So now you've got a niche, so that kind of scopes down what you need to know. And you've got a solution, which further scopes down what you need to know, which makes it so much easier to go out and talk to people, which brings us to the third step, which is how do you get your first couple of clients for your new solution that you just created? And so I like to create a pilot program. And here's how the pilot program works. I'll go out and I'll invite 1, 2, or maybe 3 business owners to work with me in this pilot program where everything that I do is at cost. So like, I basically put all of my time into it for free, but they pay for, I don't know, like hosting or if there's an ad spend, they'll pay for the raw cost of the ads, but I'm devoting all of my time for free for a particular period of time, which we'll get to in just a second. But the reason that I'm doing that, I'm not really working for free. What I'm really doing is research and development, because it's so helpful to have real world access to an actual business owner in your niche. So you can talk to them and be like, hey, what kind of stuff is bothering you? Like, what types of things are happening in your business right now that you feel like you want to solve, but you don't have the internal expertise for? And then you can find that out. That helps to refine the solution. And then you can run real world traffic and data into your system that you're building. And you'll probably say, hey, yeah, I'm getting experience and this is working. And you'll probably also notice, I probably should be doing a few things differently. I'm going to be discovering new things. That's the point of the research. And you've got real world data to back it up. So now I've got this solution where you can test and refine everything in the real world, but you don't work for free forever. So that brings us to step 4, which is once your solution actually starts working and clients are actually coming in, like your clients are getting new customers because of the stuff that you're doing, at that point, turn your pilot program clients into regular paid clients by just starting the regular monthly pricing that you would otherwise charge real clients, like once you launch your business without the pilot program, like the official launch of your system. And so I like to do it based on a result rather than a timeline. So I wouldn't want to say, I'll let you join my pilot program, everything is free for the first 6 months. Because what if you start getting them clients in the first month, right? Like, especially if you're part of one of our mentoring programs and I can point you in the right direction and kind of shorten that runway for you dramatically. Why keep working for 6 months for free when the clients are getting new customers after the first month? Or on the flip side, if for whatever reason they haven't gotten any customers in 6 months, why in the world would you say, well, now it's time for you to start paying me when I haven't been able to do what I said I was going to do in 6 whole months, right? So that's why I think it's silly to have the pilot program based on time. I'd much rather have it based on results. And I'd love to be able to kind of like point you in the right direction so you can get those results even faster. And then once the results start coming in, now you've solved all the other problems. You don't have imposter syndrome anymore. You've actually got a portfolio of a handful of clients in the same niche that you're planning to reach out to in the future for new clients, which is way better, by the way, than just a random portfolio of example websites from all kinds of niches that are unrelated. It's much better to say, look, I've gotten results for these people. You're in this group, so wouldn't it make sense that I could get results like this for you too? You've got case studies, you've got reviews, you've got the portfolio, you've got internal confidence, you've got a repeatable system that works, that you know works. You've got real world data to back it up. Like, it solves all of the imposter syndrome issues. And then you get to the 5th step, which is, okay, well, I'm shutting down the pilot program part now, and I'm actually going to do regular official pricing for the real website. And I'm going to go out and get clients based on all of that authority that you now have. Pretty cool, right? So those are the 5 steps. But then the question comes up, well, how do I actually find the clients? Like, how do I do the lead generation and getting the clients? Because there's a ton of clients out there, but it's not like it used to be. They're not looking for garden variety web design. So check out this next video and I'll show you what's changed, or check out this niche quiz so you can actually find out which clients you want to target in the first place. Either way, I'll see you in just a minute.